Welcome to the Dynamics Podcast's automated release notes reading. In this episode, Dynamics 365 Finance. Disclaimer: this document has changes made by the Dynamics Podcast to better fit this format, and does not represent in full the release document. Please read the full release notes on dynamics.com for the proper notes. Frederick might also have messed up some of the dates, so make sure to double-check. Thank you. For Dynamics 365 Finance, we continue to focus on completing core functional capabilities, automating common processes, and adding insights and intelligence in finance. Intelligent cash flow forecasting, which previewed in Wave 1, will GA along with additional intelligence and automation in vendor invoicing. We'll also enhance core financials by adding asset leasing. This continues to build the confidence in our finance community and eliminate the risk that CFOs strive for by making sure the system stays compliant with changing accounting regulations. This topic lists features that are planned to release from October 2020 through March 2021. Because this topic lists features that may not have released yet, delivery timelines may change and projected functionality may not be released. In the general availability column, the feature will be delivered within the month listed. The delivery date can be any day within that month. Released features show the full date, including the day of release. First topic: core financials. This release focuses on automating common tasks to reduce the number of processes that finance users complete manually. It also introduces asset leasing to enhance the core capabilities of finance. New feature: asset leasing. General availability, November 2020. Asset leasing helps customers feel more confident that they are following the proper accounting standards for ASC 842 and IFRS 16, reducing the risk of making or spending extensive time doing offline calculations. Asset leasing includes the following functions: calculation of schedules such as future lease payment, lease liability amortization, and right-of-use asset depreciation. Automatic classification of leases as either operating or finance for ASC 842 purposes. Complete lease information management, such as commencement date and transfer of ownership options. Automatic generation of journal entries for the initial recognition and subsequent measurement of the lease liability and right-of-use asset. Automatic lease modification and termination for GASB 87 purposes. Cash flow forecast management. Parallel reporting. Balance sheet impact calculator. Contract document management. Audit controls over lease data integrity. Excel import/export tools for all lease data. Prepare required quantitative note disclosures. Integrates with your company chart of accounts, currencies, vendors, journals, and number sequences. New feature: vendor invoice automation, enhanced historical information experience for vendor invoices. General availability, January 2021. Vendor invoice workflow history can be accessed directly from the vendor invoice, reducing the number of clicks that are needed to find that information. The most pertinent workflow history steps are surfaced, which lets you quickly scan the current and past steps of the invoice. Also, if your organization has enabled the ability to automatically submit imported vendor invoices to workflow, the automation history is provided for the imported invoices. The automation history helps you identify the current process step, as well as the steps that have already been completed. When a step is unsuccessful, detailed information is provided to help you understand the reason for the failure. New feature: vendor invoice automation. Resume automated processing for multiple invoices. General availability, February 2021. This feature saves your accounts payable staff time by letting them restart processing for multiple vendor invoices in a single step. When an imported invoice can't be submitted to workflow successfully, the system will remove it from further automated processing. An accounts payable clerk can review and edit the invoice before the automated process attempts to rerun the process for that invoice. Currently, unsuccessful invoices must be resubmitted for processing one at a time. This feature lets you restart processing for multiple invoices, where the reason for the failure can be resolved by a single fix for those invoices. For example, assume that one of the financial dimensions in the account structure was inadvertently changed. This change prevented multiple imported invoices from being submitted to workflow successfully. Correcting the financial dimension will solve the failure reason for all of unsuccessful invoices that were impacted by that issue. New feature, Automatic Collection Task Creation. Public Preview, August 2020. General Availability, October 2020. Automatically creating collection tasks that are based on rules lets your collections agents focus their activities on the areas that have the highest value for your organization. The process of creating collection tasks automatically begins with your organization defining rules that are based on invoice attributes including payment prediction, due dates, and amounts due. New feature, Notification of related prepayment invoices marked for settlement. Public Preview, August 2020. General Availability, October 2020. Raising awareness among your accounting staff of the existence of prepayments that are marked for settlements gives them the opportunity to pay the marked prepayments, or continue with the invoicing process, without unnecessary interruptions to your accounting processes. This feature notifies you that related prepayment invoices that are marked for settlement exist. This notification will happen when the final invoice is created. New feature, Touchless Email Reminders to Customer. Public Preview, August 2020. General Availability, October 2020. Automatically sending email reminders might initiate an activity that encourages payment sooner than would be made without the reminder. When enabled, email reminders will be sent automatically to customers, with a list containing overdue invoice information based on email templates. New feature, Update the invoice quantities to match product receipt quantities in workflow. Public Preview, August 2020. General Availability, October 2020. Having the flexibility to update the invoice quantity helps correct errors that can stop posting. Since posting issues can require resubmitting the invoice to workflow, the ability to prevent posting problems saves submitters and approvers time and wasted effort. Now you can update the invoice quantity field within the workflow process. This change lets you change the invoice quantity so that it matches the value in the product receipt quantity to match field. When an approver closes the Match Product Receipt to Invoice page, and the value in the product receipt quantity to match field doesn't match the invoice quantity, a message will be displayed to indicate the discrepancy, and you'll be able to update the invoice quantity. If all the product receipts from the invoice line are unmatched in workflow, the invoice line will be deleted. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation, Analytics and Metrics. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2021. The availability of good metrics can help your managers identify opportunities for greater efficiency, potentially resulting in cost savings. Power BI metrics can also help raise awareness of invoices that didn't make it through the automated process successfully. That information can help accounts payable clerks find and address issues quickly. The Vendor Invoice Entry Workspace lets you focus on vendor invoices that didn't make it through the automated process. Tiles on the workspace list information about vendor invoices that weren't successfully submitted to workflow, imported, or matched to product receipts. The workspace now lets you switch the view to a different company, without having to log into a different company. Power BI metrics are also provided to give accounts payable managers insight into the efficiencies of vendor invoice automation. This information includes the number of days to process an invoice, the percentage of invoices in last 30 days that were successfully processed without touch, the reasons that an invoice failed automation, as well as additional workflow analytics. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation. Match product receipts to invoice lines that have a three-way matching policy. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2021. This feature saves time and labor costs by using the system to automatically match quantities on vendor invoice lines to product receipts. Your employees no longer have to monitor the arrival of goods and then complete the matching process manually. Invoices frequently arrive before the goods. When the invoice line has a three-way matching policy, someone must match the invoices lines to the posted product receipts after the goods arrive. Now, the system can automatically match posted product receipts to invoice lines that a three-way matching policy has been defined for. The process will run until the matched product receipt quantity is equal to the invoice quantity. As part of this process, you can indicate the maximum number of times the system should use to try to match product receipts to an invoice line, before concluding that the process failed. The match product receipt to invoice lines process will run in the background, using a frequency of either hourly or daily. You can run the automated matching process as part of the process for submitting invoices to workflow, or as a standalone process. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation, Pre-Validate Vendor Invoice Posting. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2021. Validating the posting prior to posting saves time by ensuring accuracy of the invoice before it is sent for approval. This allows accounts payable professionals to find and fix errors before submitting the invoice to workflow for approval. Accounts payable professionals can run the validation process that's run during vendor invoice posting, but without updating accounts. This process can be started from the vendor invoices page in Accounts Payable. You can run the process on a single invoice, or multiple invoices, that are selected from the Pending Vendor Invoices page. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation, Submit imported vendor invoices to workflow. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2020. Submitting imported invoices to workflow automatically saves accounts payable professionals time that they would otherwise have spent manually editing each vendor invoice. As part of a touchless accounts payable invoicing process, you can choose to have the system automatically submit an imported invoice to workflow. The Submit to Workflow process will run as a background process, using a frequency that you can specify, either hourly or daily. You can also require the system to match product receipts to invoice lines automatically, before submitting the invoice to workflow. To ensure that the invoice can be processed straight through, without manual intervention, an automated posting task must be included in the workflow configuration. Invoices that are related to purchase orders and invoices that contain a non-PO procurement category and non-stocked lines can be submitted to workflow automatically. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation, Tracking imported invoice amount and imported sales tax amount. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2021. Tracking both imported invoice and sales tax amounts can help reduce errors. The imported totals provide accounts payable professionals a way to verify that the calculated invoice totals are correct before they're posted. The imported invoice amount and imported sales tax amount for vendor invoices can be provided in the import file. Typically, these values are scanned by an outside provider and included in the import file. As the invoice is processed in Dynamics 365 Finance, the system calculates values based on the invoice data. Imported values must match the calculated values, ensuring that the invoice accurately reflects the amount due to the vendor. If your organization allows imported invoices to be submitted to workflow automatically, you can optionally require that the imported totals match the calculated totals before it can be submitted to workflow. New feature, Vendor Invoice Automation, Tracking the Invoice Receive Date. Public Preview, October 2020. General Availability, January 2021. Tracking the date that an invoice was received lets accounts payable professionals analyze the amount of time it takes to process a vendor invoice. The date received provides a measurement of the efficiency in the organization, based on how long it takes from the time the invoice arrives until it is posted. Effectively managing the time it takes to process an invoice can help lead to more timely invoice payments. The invoice receive date is the date that the company received the invoice from the vendor. It provides a starting point for tracking the invoice's progress. The invoice received date can include in the imported data for a vendor invoice. For invoices that were created manually, you can specify the invoice received date. If received date isn't entered, the date will default to today's date. New topic, globalization. To run operations globally, businesses must meet complex, country-specific globalization requirements in the areas of tax, e-invoicing, audit, regulatory reporting, banking, business document layout, etc. Some of these are legally required in certain countries/regions, and some of them are adopted based on local business practices. These requirements are frequently changed by local government or tax authorities, often with very tight law enforcement dates. To reduce the complexity of meeting the constantly changing regulatory and other local requirements in multiple countries/regions and efficiently address global regulatory trends, we made key globalization areas of Dynamics 365 Finance and Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management configurable by power users and even business users, for business documents. Partners and customers used our configuration tools and services to extend out-of-the-box country/region localizations, as well as to create new features resulting in almost 10,000 custom features for 114 countries. In 2020 Release Wave 2, we focused on delivering localizations for 5 additional countries/regions, Bahrain, Hong Kong, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar, extending the number of Microsoft-supported countries/regions to 42. We also simplified configuration management with Global Repository and Globalization feature functionality and expanded regulatory configuration regional coverage to Europe and UAE. We shipped the GA versions of PDF conversion and direct printing features for configurable business documents, invoicing advanced notes management feature, Finish e-invoice Finvoice 3.0, and a few other features which were highly requested by customers and partners. New feature, Extended Finish Localization Finvoice 3.0. General availability, October 2020. Global and local customers who deploy Dynamics 365 Finance and Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management in Finland will have access to a configurable electronic invoice format that satisfies local Finnish requirements. This feature satisfies the Finnish-specific requirements for implementation of Finvoice v 3.0. New feature, Invoicing Advanced Notes Management. General availability, October 2020. The Advanced Notes Management feature lets you set up predefined notes that apply to all or specific customers, vendors, and products. You can then add these notes to specific business documents. The Advanced Notes Management is no longer controlled by country context. This means it can be used across all of the legal entities. New feature, Invoicing, VAT Directives on Project Invoices. General availability, October 2020. Higher adherence to legal requirements for multiple geographies. EU Directive provides regulations to be followed by all member states regarding invoice rules and information that must be included when creating invoices. EU Directive lists the information that is required by suppliers for their customers in the EU. For example, an invoice could include a reference that describes the legal grounds for a VAT 0 rating or an exemption. Project Invoices, Project Invoice, and the Contract Project Invoice now support printing the tax directive texts defined as user-created descriptions of sales tax codes. Previously, these were shown only for Eastern European countries in Project Invoices, while requirements are applicable to all EU member states. New feature, Regulatory Configuration Service Expanded Regional Coverage for Europe. General availability, October 2020. The Regulatory Configuration Service, RCS, lets business and power users configure regulatory reports, e-invoices, business document layouts, payment formats, and tax rules that are frequently affected by changing legal requirements. These configurations can be done in a single application, rather than writing code in multiple applications or multiple versions of one application, and then distributing it to required locations through a centralized repository. This regional expansion will support customers in different countries to meet local data residency requirements and utilize the benefits of Regulatory Configuration Service, RCS, instead of relying on the configuration designers built into Dynamics 365 Finance, which has limited functionality. As part of the ongoing enhancements to RCS, we are increasing the breadth of regional coverage where RCS environments can be deployed. When undertaking the initial service sign-up, the system administrator can select to have their RCS environments deployed in the existing supported regions, or they can select to deploy their instance in the new regions being supported. In 2020 Release Wave 2, users can select to host their RCS environments in the following countries or regions. United States, already available. India, already available. Europe, super duper cool. As part of the RCS provisioning flow, users can select the data center that is geographically located where their environment will be provisioned. New feature, Regulatory Configuration Service Global Repository for Simplified Configuration Management. General availability, October 2020. As part of 2020 Release Wave 2, Global Repository functionality is generally available and supports the following capabilities. Users will have access to all Microsoft-produced configurations directly in RCS, without using LCS. Users will be able to centrally store, publish, and share their configurations with their own organization. Users will have the ability to share configurations directly with external organizations. User can filter using different tags to discovery configuration related to country/region, functional/feature area, industry, and business document type. New feature, Regulatory Configuration Service Simplified Globalization Feature Management for Globalization Services. General availability, October 2020. As part of 2020 Release Wave 2, the Globalization feature functionality becomes generally available and supports the following capabilities. Users will be able to discover and access Microsoft-produced globalization features. Users will be able to review/configure related feature components including electronic reporting format configurations, processing actions, and corresponding parameter setup. User will be able to deploy their configured globalization feature for use in globalization services like the e-invoicing service. Users will be able to centrally store and share their globalization features with their own organization. Users will have the ability to share their globalization features directly with external organizations. New feature, Configurable Business Documents Conversion to PDF. General availability, October 2020. This feature allows any business document generated in Excel or Word to be converted to a PDF. The functionality, Convert to PDF, is added in the electronic reporting destination setup for a given report. For more information, see Output Conversion to PDF. New feature, Configurable Business Documents Direct Printing. General availability, October 2020. This feature lets you select the printer destinations for electronic reporting destinations of Word, Excel, and PDF format configurations. This setup is then used to send PDF documents, either converted from Word or Excel, or documents that were generated in PDF format, to the Document Routing Agent (DRA). New feature, Barcode Generation Data Source for Configurable Business Documents. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. When you configure an ER format, you can specify the data sources of the barcode type to generate barcode images and populate them to generated business documents such as orders, invoices, packing slips, and receipts, or different kind of labels such as product and shelf labels, and packaging and shipping labels. New country/region, Bahrain. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. The country-specific functionality for Bahrain includes reverse charge, VAT declaration and VAT details, VAT payer sales template and VAT payer purchase template. Invoice and credit note. Invoice issue deadline. User interface in Arabic language. New country/region, Hong Kong SAR. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. Globalization functionality for Hong Kong SAR in this release includes: user interface in English, traditional Chinese is not supported. ISO 20022. New country/region, Kuwait. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. Globalization functionality for Kuwait in this release includes: reverse charge. User interface in Arabic, Kuwait, language. New country/region, Oman. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. The globalization functionality for Oman in this release includes: reverse charge. User interface in Arabic, Oman, language. New country/region, Qatar. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. Globalization functionality for Qatar in this release includes: reverse charge. User interface in Arabic, Qatar, language. New feature, electronic reporting, legal entity-specific parameters enhancements. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. With planned feature improvements, more legislatively required reports can be implemented by using the ER framework. These improvements increase the configurability of such reports, making maintenance and customizations more efficient and allowing for faster reaction to legislative changes and specific customer requests. It will help customers to faster deploy, set up and start using such ER formats. These improvements simplify the configuration of ER formats containing lookup data sources for a business user. They also make more effective the setting of ER format-specific company, legal entity, master data for a business user. It will help customers to faster deploy, set up and start using such ER formats. A power user may configure a legal entity independent rule translating its terms to all languages that are supported in finance. While a business user sets this rule up for a legal entity, the rule details are currently presented in the default language. This feature offers a business user the option to create rule terms in the user's preferred language. While a power user configures a legal entity independent rule, a data source field is specified to return values describing configured rule. Currently, this field is indicated only by the name. This feature provides the entire path to this field, allowing a power user to quickly navigate to this field. Additionally, this feature allows a power user to explicitly identify what fields of the lookup data source will be presented for a business user when ER format-specific company, legal entity, master data is being set up. A legal entity independent rule can be now configured to return only of the enumeration data type for every configured condition. A power user can also configure a rule to return a text value as well. New topic, public sector. New feature, restrict ability to edit accounting distribution on vendor invoices. General availability, November 2020. This feature helps you maintain the accuracy of accounting information on vendor invoices by locking in values for certain accounts, such as the fund or department account, while allowing the main account to be changed. A setup form has been added that allows you to set restrictions on which financial account number dimensions may be edited on vendor invoices that were created from a purchase order. New feature, associate 1099 default value to main account. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. Some vendors receive payments that must be reported on 1099 statements, as well as receiving payments that aren't required. Also, some invoice lines might be reported in different 1099 boxes than are specified by default for the vendor. Associating a 1099 box number with a main account can help ensure that 1099 reporting remains consistent and in compliance with reporting requirements. New feature, delegation of multiple purchasing work items. Public preview, August 2020. General availability, October 2020. The Work Items Assigned to Me page now includes the ability to delegate multiple work items to another user in one action. In earlier versions, work items were delegated one at a time, which was time-consuming and might have occasionally led to misassignments. This feature helps make a clerical task easier and more efficient. The following work items can be delegated: purchase requisitions, purchase agreements, purchase orders, vendor invoices. This concludes the reading of the release notes for Dynamics 365-2020 Wave 2. For more information, go to www.dynepodcast.com and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.